Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Maria. Today I am so excited to be doing this video and a little nervous. Excuse the thumping noises, that's my cat jumping around the room. You'll probably see her in the background, and I think I'll have a lot of fun during editing, zooming in on her doing weird things in the background. But like I said, I'm really excited for this video. It's been in the making for a very long time. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh. You're just a little ham. She wants to be in the video. That's what's happening right now. She wants to be in the video and also be rambunctious on the ground. Like I was saying before, I had the idea for this video series slash project around June-ish, and I told my friends about the project and my idea for it, and I asked them for their advice on different things and if it's something that they would be interested in watching, because I like to ask my friends who are not really in the booktube world but know about me doing it, because I want to appeal to a large variety of people. I like to get opinions from people who aren't in the booktube community, don't really know a lot about it other than we read a lot of books and talk about them. And they all said it was something that they'd want to watch, and I just got caught up in the job search like I've told you guys, and I'm finally here. I'm finally deciding to start it. What is it? What am I going to be doing? Stay tuned, I will be explaining it. So as you all know, I am Romanian American. I'm actually a dual citizen, so I have citizenship in both the US and Romania. And for a long time, I I talked about the fact that I was Romanian, but not in the ways that actually mattered, in my opinion. I talked about what people would ask me about, which was like very little and very stereotypical, like say banana in Romanian, or like how often do you go there, and that was pretty much it. And are you a vampire? And as much as like, yeah, that's funny, like we were kids and stuff, I didn't realize how much my different upbringing and being first generation impacted who I am, and I had repressed a lot of those personality traits and talking about that until I went to college, and I became friends with a lot of people who were first gen. They weren't first gen Romanian American, but I have found through my college experience that people who are first gen have a lot more in common than they would think. Obviously every culture is different, there are nuances and intricacies throughout all first-gen experiences, but there are some grounding factors that can spread across to a lot of different cultures. Can you see why I waited to make this video? There's a lot to talk about, and I'm trying to get the wording right, and I did not script this because I wanted it to be really natural and real while I talked about it, because this is something that means a lot to me. Yeah, so that part of my identity was not something I really confronted until college, but I would talk to people in college and have all these realizations and realize that, wow, like I wasn't just weird, like I just had a different upbringing. It was different. People around me, had family here for generations, and I was like, oh no, I don't know what that is, or I've never eaten that before, or like I pronounce this word differently because that's how I learned it. So it was all these little things that always made me kind of stand out and feel weird. Like I was definitely bullied at times because of it, but people couldn't pinpoint what it was about me that was weird and different. They just knew I was. And so it's a long story of weird realizations and experiences. So it's just a long story of realizations and experiences, and me realizing that a lot of, like I said, the things that made me different and made me feel like I needed to assimilate were actually really beautiful, and like wanting to connect with Romanian culture on a deeper level and explore things more. Yeah, it's been a journey. I know that regardless of the fact that I am first gen, there were a lot of things that people picked on me for, a lot of experiences there with like repression of culture and that kind of thing. I still have the white privilege that goes on with being Eastern European, and I'm not trying to overshadow that, but I still had my own share of difficulties in terms of being first gen. So, like I said, lots of bullying for my food and like the weird way I say words, and like people just being overall assholes sometimes about different things that I would do or say or act like or not know. I remember being in 6th grade and we went to our first school dance, and everyone knew all the words to all the songs, and I didn't know any of them. And I remember asking someone, like, how did you know all the words? Like, how did you Like, where do you even listen to them? I don't know anything. And that's when they told me, like, oh, you have to listen to this radio station. It has all the pop songs. This is before, or it was probably around Spotify, but Spotify was not big. I think the only thing you could do was like Pandora. And I went and I listened to that radio station like almost 24/7 for like an entire weekend, and from then I would always listen, and it has definitely shaped part of my identity to now like be very aware of pop culture and music and books and things that are going on, more so than even my peers, just kind of to overcompensate for the fact that back then I really didn't know anything. Like, I didn't know what people were referencing, and just my parents didn't know, so I didn't know. Anyway, so that has always been something that I've been struggling with and going through and trying to work through, and then like come to appreciate my identity more. As you can see, this part has been very rambling. What's the point of this? What was the point of me telling you all this deeply personal, intimate aspects of my life and my identity and my insecurities and my upbringing? That's because
I remember growing up,
I didn't really see myself in media. Like, physically, maybe, but even then, like, my body type is like very different than the Western ideal of body type. So that was something that I also always struggled with until I met a friend who I was talking to, and she's like, well, we have Eastern European birthing hips. Like, what do you want? Yeah, maybe like Western people don't have them as often, but like it's a genetic thing. And that's when my eyes were kind of open to like, oh my God, I've only seen this one like standard of body, and I never felt like I could reach it or look like that, even though in theory I was supposed to, because the people around me technically looked like me, but we were not alike. So I never really felt like I could relate to what I was reading or watching. There were very few instances in which I could. Obviously, I've had it better than a lot of people of color. I'm not trying to say that like I never saw myself ever. I definitely could see myself more often, and I know that that's another struggle, but it's just, I just didn't really relate to people on TV. I was like, my parents are not like that. I would never behave that way. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, it was really hard for me to connect a lot of the time. And so I always wanted to read like a book about a Romanian girl. I remember when I was younger, I used to write short stories about a Romanian girl, like just living her life. And I would write it because I never read it. Like, I couldn't find it anywhere. Now when I read books about first gen characters, regardless of like what country they're from, it is way more relatable to me than what I was reading before. So that's been really, really fun to discover. And it's been really cool that people have been amplifying those voices more, because I have found a lot of books that were way more relatable to me than a lot of the books I read growing up. But it got me to thinking about, Romanian representation. And I'm not calling for more of it, because I get that it's like a very teeny country and there are way bigger issues at hand. So that's not what this project is about. But I can't really speak to representation of other cultures. I can talk about when it's not being represented at all, where there should be more, but I can't really talk about accuracy of representation. That's not really my place, but what I can talk about is accuracy of Romanian representation. And like I've said, I don't think I've ever read a book where a character was Romanian, like even a side character. Like, I've just never read one. And I went on a journey and I looked up a ton of books that either had a Romanian side character, however small, it doesn't matter, or like as a main focus of the story, or Romanian culture as a part of the inspiration of the fantasy world. I went on a journey and I found a handful, maybe like around 10 or maybe less than 10. And yes, a lot of them I don't think are going to be good. I'm not trying to judge a book before I read it, but I am judging a book before I read it. There are a few in which I looked up the author's inspiration. Why did they write it? What kind of inspired them to look into Romanian culture further? A lot of these books are not by Romanian people, and I don't really know how to feel about that. On one hand, I'm super excited that Romania is getting featured in books and that somebody took the time and was interested in the culture, but on the other hand, it's very difficult as someone on the outside looking in to write an accurate portrayal of the country or the culture or the people. So that's what I want to go on. I want to go on a journey, read all these Romanian books, and then talk to you guys about them. That way, you can learn a little more about Romania. I can see if any of these books are relatable to me, and maybe I'll find some new favorites. There are already a few that I think are not going to be my favorites, but we will discuss why when I read them, and I will go, like I said, more in depth about a lot of things. These will be heavily researched videos. I'm going to try to make them very informational and not just me sitting there being like, this was bad, I didn't like it, like or this was good, yay. I want it to be informational. I want you to come away from that video having learned something, but this is also kind of like a spiritual journey for me. So that's the best way I can describe it, what I'm gonna try to do. I don't know how this is gonna go because, like I said, haven't read any of these books. I have no idea if they're gonna be good. To what degree is there a Romanian character in there? Because a lot of these I would just look up lists, like books with Romanian characters. I found like a mafia romance or like a vampire romance. There's gonna be so many vampires in this. Like, I just want to say to people writing vampire stories, I get it. I get it. Like, Vlad Tsipish, Dracula from Romania, like, cool, that's fine. But there are more things that you can do with Romania than vampires. Like, I know, I love a good vampire. I love a good vampire. But there's so many more things you could be doing. Like, they're so cool. And it's a little frustrating. Maybe I should write my own story, and then I can't really complain until I write my own story, I guess. But yeah, lots of vampires, lots of mafia bosses. There's one contemporary romance that I am very intrigued by and have very high hopes for. So I have decided at the end of my wrap-ups, I think I told you guys I'm not going to be doing TBR videos anymore. So I will be picking out of a jar at the end of my wrap-ups a book to read for the month. That is the Romanian book. And then the next month, there will be that heavily researched video going up about, what were the cultural elements they attempted to talk about? How was the Romanian representation? Just anything along those lines. And I'd also like to put out a disclaimer saying I am not the spokesperson for all Romanian people. My experience as someone first gen living in America is very different to someone living in Romania. We all are doing our own thing and, like, amongst ourselves have very different experiences of what it's like to be Romanian. So I am not speaking for the collective country. I'm speaking from my own perspective and how it made me feel, and literally factually what they were basing things off of. And so I'm going to be trying to do it like that so that it doesn't come across as me saying that I am speaking for the collective group of Romanian people, because I am not. Cannot do that, not even trying to. So that's essentially the best I can describe what I'm trying to do and why. I know that this was probably a little all over the place with me talking about my own identity experience and also, like what the project is for and why and what I'm going to be doing. But I hope that you guys got a gist of why I'm doing this. This is definitely like a very personal project to me and something I'm very excited about. I think 10-year-old me would be very excited to know that there are lists of books with Romanian characters in them. That's very exciting. She would be pumped because she never got to read those. So try to fulfill little me's dream. But if there are any books that have Romanian characters, have a Romanian like fantasy setting, please leave them down below or throughout the months that I'm doing this. If any come across your path, please let me know, because there are not a lot out there and the series will end very quickly if I only do the books I have found as of now. So I'm always looking for suggestions. Leave them in the comments below, DM me, however you want to get them to me. I am open to hearing about them. So I figured I would do my first pick in this video since it is the announcement video. I have this jar here of very few books, but it's enough for now. I'll also be doing a video at some point kind of related to this series. I found this book on Kindle about like how to pick up Romanian women, or like how to get Romanian women to date you or something, or how to understand them so that you can like get them to like you. Don't want to do that as the first one. That's a weird way to start this off with. So I'm gonna pick a book. So the book that is on this paper, and I made these, like I said, when I came up with the idea, so I don't remember pretty much any of the books in here. I remember 3 of them, and aside from that, nothing. So this is the Blood and Ancient Scrolls series by Raven Belasco. Alrighty, so this one is a 2-book series, so we gotta read both. So this book is clearly about Vlad Dracula from what I have read so far, and I'm not going to read you the summary, but I will read you the little snippet where they try to intrigue you into reading the book, and it says, Blood Ex Libris is the first book in a brand new, dark urban fantasy series, mixing horror, history, and blood-soaked romance featuring a snarky librarian heroine, a sensual but complex hero in the story of life that unfolds in unexpected ways, from humdrum to death-defying thrills, from middle America to the middle of an unknown desert, surrounded by sword fighting, explosions, and the ultimate drama of immortals meeting death. Then it says, what to expect. Steamy romance with uninhibited language, strong female lead, alpha male, graphic violence, LGBTQ plus characters, graphic violence, and blood-feeding imagery. So I think we're in for a ride. Obviously, with a book like this, where it's clearly fantasy vibes, I will not criticize it too much, but I still would like to see if they chose to take any cultural elements, and if Dracula, says anything in Romanian. That would be kind of cool. We'll see. This may be a flop. This first book may not even really have any Romanian elements. I don't know. But I looked up lists, and this was on a list. So we're going to go with it. So I hope you guys are as excited as I am. Like I said, if you have any questions about why I'm doing this or what this is going to be like, leave them down below. Any recommendations, same, leave them down below. I am very, very excited to finally be doing this. Finally getting up the courage to make this video and start the project because I've been waiting for a long time. As always, my Goodreads, my Twitter, my Instagram, all that fun stuff is down below in the description, as well as some links to places you can donate for the Black Lives Matter movement, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!